Star Bowling with the top bowling stars of America. Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Top Star Bowling. We have a terrific match for you this week. I'm Jack Buck, speaking to you from the Hoffman Lanes here at Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And two more Top Star Bowlers are here to entertain you and shoot at the same time for a portion of the $40,000 in prize money that is involved. Here today, $1,000 to the winner of our three-game match where total pins count, $500 to the loser, plus the very attractive LaSalle wristwatch for each man. We have a King of the Hill format here where the winner stays around to take on another opponent. And we have a fellow on hand who's one of the great team bowlers of the country from Detroit. He having defeated Dick A.G., Glenn Allison, and Billy G. to appear here for the fourth time, Mr. Therm Gibson from Detroit. Therm, good to see you.
Nice to be back again, Jack.
Good to see you back once again. One thing I've noticed during the past few weeks, when you roll that ball, Therm, and you think you're in the pocket, you give it that little hand clap. Can we count on that as we watch you?
Well, most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
But when you think
it feels good. That's the reason I do it.
When it feels like good, all right, then we'll keep an eye on that, and I know that you're hoping you'll be clapping your hands all during the session.
I sure do.
Well, let's meet your opponent. Here is a fellow who has at one time or another held most of the major titles in bowling. He's a former Masters champion in the ABC and member of one of the outstanding teams of all time in bowling. He is from St. Louis, Mr. Ray Bluth. Ray, how are you?
Fine, Jack.
Is St. Louis all right, or do you insist on Warson Woods?
Well, Warson Woods are St. Louis. It's one and the same to me.
Ray, I suppose as the people watch you here, they'll be viewing perhaps the greatest concentration on the part of a bowler. I know that's a big part of your game.
Well, I try and think on each ball that I'm going to bowl, and a lot of people say, well, why don't you laugh or why don't you smile once in a while? Well, actually, I'm trying to think about my game, and like I always say, I come to bowl. I hope.
And to win, huh?
I hope.
The very best to you, Ray Bluth.
Thank you, Jack.
And to you, Therm Gibson.
Thank you.
There they are, folks.
Okay.
And now we're all set for Top Star Bowling. We get right into competition here. No practice balls or anything of the sort. They've had sufficient time to warm up. Bluth said he came to bowl. Lots to tell you about this fellow as we go along. Let's see how he starts on 29. Therm Gibson has been rolling very, very well. Bluth starts as you probably would expect. Do you think we'll see him smile at all, Whitey Harris?
Not at all. This is Ray's temperament, Jack. He's out there to bowl, and he's concentrating all the time.
Might explain to you that Jerome Whitey Harris is alongside. Whitey, a member of the Brunswick advisory staff, fine bowler in his own right. He'll be giving you his comments as we go along. Let's see if Gibson can match the strike, and he does. So we're off and running with a strike three. Therm Gibson won the toss. Chose to allow Ray Bluth to lead off. This series, by the way, of Top Star Bowling, which I hope you've been enjoying over the weeks, is sanctioned by the ABC. The American Bowling Congress has certified the lanes, checking them constantly week after week. Therm Gibson turning that ball over, claps the hands, gets the double. He's off and running. He's off and running. Now let's get back to Ray Bluth right here. I mentioned Warson Woods. It's a suburb of the city of St. Louis. Ray is a native St. Louisan. What a beautiful approach. What a beautiful strike. They each have a double. Ray was a little bit outside with that ball, a little bit more so than the bowlers have been over the past few weeks. Each man on a double, Bluth in the third frame. Oh, what a picture. What a picture he is to watch, as is, of course, Therm Gibson. And that's why I started the program today by saying we have a terrific match for you. And these two men haven't disappointed here in the early going. Gibson has rolled 9 games so far. He's averaged 216 plus. Little wonder he's around for a fourth week. He's staying right with Ray Bluth. They each have 3 as we start. Therm Gibson, a big fellow, 5'10", 240 pounds. It's a lot of weight to be lugging back and forth to that foul line. won the national doubles of the BPAA with the late George Young. Won the ABC Team Championships 3 years. Hey, carries again. A high hit, and the 4-7 got dumped out of there, and that's 4 in a row for Therm Gibson. Ray Bluth has 3. And I know you've got to be enjoying this. And 5-step approach. He's outside again. He's in the pocket again. 4 strikes for each man at the start of the first game right here.
Boring, isn't it? No spares.
Yeah, it's boring. Now let's see what Ray Bluth does here in the 5th frame. We're scooting right along.
Interesting to note, Jack, that Ray's left hand is completely over the top of the ball. He's positioning it.
Bluth is looking for 5. And he carries. That ball driving through, working it out, is about the thinnest of the hits that he has had. But nonetheless, he gets his 5, and Therm Gibson has to match him right here in the 5th frame. Ray Bluth started with 5. Therm Gibson has started with 4, and I'm getting a kick out of this. Therm starts way inside. Cocks that ball off to the right. Gets it out, turns it over, walks it in, gets another. 5 for each. 5 in a row for each man. Perhaps the most exciting beginning that we've had on Top Star Bowling. Notice how Therm gets that ball off to the right. Turns it over, claps the hands, and whoop, 4-5. So he had 5 in the 4-5. Stops him right here. Of course, he can pick that with a well-placed second ball.
Actually, the 4-5, Jack, isn't a bad lead, considering that could have been a mixing strike. He wasn't too far off on sending those pins spinning around.
He thought he was going to get it, as indicated by that hand clap about which we spoke at the outset. Any one open by any one man could be disastrous in this particular match. Is he there? Leaves the 4 and opens in the 6th frame. And now Ray Bluth comes back up. He's on 30. Remember on 30, the last time he was pretty far outside with the ball. Let's see what he does now. Look at the intense concentration as he sights over his left wrist. There it is. That's 6 for him. I thought for a moment, Whitey, that the ball was going to be a bit high for him, and I fully expected to see the 4-pin there. Ray moves over to 29. He has taken the lead now. If you and I stood up there this long, sighting, as Ray Bluth does, we'd fall flat on our face. Leaves the 4-7. He was on the nose that time. He's muttering a bit as he comes back. But he has taken the lead over Therm. As Therm opened in the 6th, and Ray struck for the 6th time. And now has to bring back the 4-7 for his spare here in the 7th frame. Bluth won the BPAA doubles championship with Dick Weber 3 years. There's his spare. Ray rolled a 300 game in the ABC Masters final. Set a new 4-game record, but Don Carter came along and wiped it out the next day. Therm Gibson trying to get back on a strike in the 7th frame. He's on the head pin again and escaped the split as the 7-pin dropped off. He leaves the 6-10. Therm Gibson. He gets his first spare of the game. And they'll move over to 29. They each have a spare through the 7th frame. Ray Bluth has taken a 22-pin lead. Total pins count $4,000, $500 to the loser. The LaSalle wristwatch for each. And the 6-pin, as Therm seems to be off a little bit right now, Eddie.
Looks like that last pitch here on 30 might have affected the way he rolled the ball on 29, Jack. And even to the point, I think it looked like he might have speeded up his approach, which is unusual for Therm.
We've heard over the past few weeks from these bowlers that it's a natural tendency for all bowlers to speed not only their approach but the delivery of the ball when they appear in competition and on TV like this. So there's 165 through the 7th with a spare up for Therm Gibson. Ray Bluth, who started with 6 in a row, then left the 4-7 and spared. Ray turns that ball over. Watch the backswing. Watch the action of the ball on the backswing. All right, straight back, and then straight out, and straight in, I was going to say, but the 4-pin rocked but wouldn't drop. So Ray has 187 through the 7th, and he'll have to take care of this 4 for his spare to maintain his 22-pin lead over Therm Gibson. You know, Therm has been here having won 3 weeks in a row. And it's something when a newcomer comes along and fires a 6-bagger at you to start. Let you know in a hurry that you've got your hands full. Ray gets the 4-pin. Gibson bowled 648 to defeat Dick Agee, 654 to knock out Glenn Allison, and then disposed of Billy Golombiewski with a 649 series.
Jack, it's interesting to note because these are two bowlers that hold ball out to the right to get it in lane in their line.
Bluth in the 9th frame on a spare on the Brooklyn side, and he leaves the 3-6. So both started off red hot and haven't been able to strike since Bluth strike in the 6th, and he's a little bit disgusted with himself, slapping that towel. What is his average for TV appearances? 230?
It's
231, I believe.
231, Jack, and that's over 220 games on TV in which he's been able to get an average. And that's bowling in all kinds of conditions.
And that's something. Ray Bluth. Few people seated in front of us and behind Ray thought perhaps he was going to chop that 3 off the 6, but he did not. He spares in the 9th. Now Therm Gibson would like to get a strike here in the 9th to have something to work on when the roll-off comes around. Therm is on 30. Where is he now? Right back in it. So he strikes. He's only 20 pins down now, and he can do something about it with another hit right here in the 10th frame. Ray Bluth has 205 through the 8th with a spare up. 255 is his potential. 245 is the best that Therm Gibson could do. Therm Gibson looking for 2. Had some pretty good mixing action there, and his first pitch in the roll-off fails to give him the strike. He has to bring this back for 205 through the 9th, and then a 10 count for 225, which is his new potential high. There's a spare in the 10th frame. 205 through the 9th. We have more fine bowlers lined up to come your way in Top Star Bowling. Joe Joseph, Ray Orff will be here, Bob Strampy, Bill Lillard, Pete Carter. All these people yet to be seen on Top Star Bowling. Therm Gibson looking for the 10 count. Throws that ball out for 224. 224 for Therm Gibson with a split. Came up with that 4-5 split in the 6th frame after starting with 5 in a row. Here's Ray Bluth. This is where he stopped his string of strikes on 30, and he's high again and splits here in the 10th. So Ray comes up with a 4-6-10. He has 222 through the 9th. If he gets the 2 pins, which he undoubtedly will shoot at, he will thus have 230 and a 6-pin lead. He gets the 2 pins for a 9 count in the 10th. 231. 231 for Ray Bluth and 224 for Therm Gibson. We'll be back to visit with one of the bowlers after this message for you. 231, 224, and a pretty good start in our match, and a very exciting commencement it was to this get-together. Therm, 6 strikes for each man and 1 split, and so the score figured to be as close as it is.
Yes, it did.
What about that split that you came up with in the 6th frame?
Well, I threw it out a little bit, and I thought I was going to carry, but the 2-pin falls right between her, and you end up with that 4-5 split. It sort of shook me up, I guess, because I started pointing the ball after that.
What do you mean by pointing the ball, Therm?
That's throwing up towards the head pin too much.
Just aiming, more or less, and getting rid of that free and easy motion that you had been using. I thought perhaps you were going to carry that particular hit, did you?
I thought so, but it's just one of those things, you know.
And then you couldn't pick up the split.
No, that's right.
So Ray, in the interest of excitement, wanted to keep it close in the 10th frame, and so he matched your split, and we're ready to go from there. You're not going to change anything, are you, Therm?
No, not too much, no.
No, you've been here successfully 3 times, trying to make it a 4th, and good luck to you as we continue along. Therm Gibson, good luck to you, Ray Bluth. 231, 224, second game coming up on Top Star Bowling. The defending champion in this particular series, Therm Gibson, starting us off in the second game on 29. And a 224 game, and gets one. That 4-pin goes down for him. He stole a glance at a very well-known bowler whom I mentioned a moment ago, Harry Smith, who is in our audience. Harry will be appearing in the future here on this series. Let's see if Bluth answers the call. You getting in there, Ray? 7-pin, thin hit. 7-pin failed to drop for him. Each man had 6 strikes on the first game. Each came up with a split. Bluth got his in the roll-off when he could have opened up a pretty good lead over his opponent, Therm Gibson. As it turns out, he has a 7-pin lead, which could disappear if Therm is able to double on the strike he now has working. We're in the second game. Jack Buck and Whitey Harris with you from the Hoffman Lanes here at the Hoffman Estates in Illinois. A very unique style. Whoa! He left a 7-pin, now he leaves a 10-pin with a tap and a pretty good hit. Ray Bluth. .5'10", 190 pounds. Moves far to the left. He works just as hard on these spares as he does on that strike ball. Peering intently at that mark on the lane. And gets his second spare of the game. Ray, by the way, is wearing the Don Carter glove, which you have undoubtedly seen in the past a good many of the professional bowlers. And more amateur bowlers are using that glove. Therm Gibson looking for a double. He could grab the lead right here. Leaves the 4-pin. That's the hit on which he's been carrying that 4-pin quite often. But this time it appeared he was just a bit too much in toward the nose. So he can bring this back, match the spare that Bluth has in the second, pick up 1 pin, and keep the match extremely tight with only a 6-pin difference. And that's what he's going to do. The winner of this match takes on Mr. Pete Carter, his Therm in the 3rd frame. Got that one out on the lane quite a bit and hit right on the nose. The 10-pin drop for him. The 4-7 remains. That's one of the few times we've seen him pitch the ball, Whitey.
Yes, I don't know. Again, maybe it's this old problem that Therm was telling us about. If he feels himself, rushing too fast, then he tries to let the ball go out a little further.
He didn't take much time going after that 4-7, but it didn't bother him. And we've noticed that, too, in the past about him. In some of those spares, he just picks up that ball and lets fly. Bluth is the opposite. Ray working on a spare, looking for his first strike of the game. What do you think, Ray Bluth? He was high and splits again, as he did in the roll-off, his second split of the match, the 4-6. Well, that's going to make it even, isn't it? In fact, put Therm Gibson out in front by a couple of pins.
That's it. On the pin count, Jack, on Therm's spare would determine that.
Ray gets the 4, opens in the third frame, has 46 through the third, having started with 2 spares. Bluth started that first game with 6 strikes, hasn't had one since. And darn near had another split as that 10-pin was late in dropping. He started with 6 in a row and then got off it with spares in the 7th, 8th, and 9th of the first game and a split in the 10th. Then 2 spares and a split. Now he'll be trying for his 3rd spare of this game in the 4th frame. You know, Ray Bluth was a member of the team that rolled the record 38-58, which still stands as a team record. And in that endeavor, Ray bowled 300 and 834, so he did more than his share. There's the spare. Can you imagine that? Bowling with a team, he bowled a 300 game and included that as part of an 834 series as his team, 5-man team, bowled 38-58 for an all-time record. Whitey Harris here alongside was the captain of that particular team. Therm threw that one out the window, gets a 7 count, giving him 55 through the 3rd frame. He's 9 pins ahead of Ray Bluth in this particular game, therefore 2 pins ahead in the match. The 1-2-8. Hey. He almost didn't have that 8 pin. Another time he just picked the ball up there and headed for that foul line, as we told you he has a habit of doing. He waved that ball over and waved it right into the right spot. You know, a lot of neighborhood bowling centers are working with the school system and supplementing the facilities of the school. A lot of schools are offering bowling either as a regular course or an intramural activity. Ray Bluth hasn't had a strike in a long while. So he matches the one which Gibson had in the 5th frame. There is only a 2-pin difference. Who's going to get the double, Bluth or Gibson? What do you think? Woo! Ray was rooting for a Brooklyn that time. You seldom see him that far off. He leaves a 6-10, and Therm Gibson can add to his 2-pin lead by popping a double himself. First game was 231 for Bluth, 224 for Gibson. Ray spares. He has lost his strike ball that he had going for him so well. Here in 6 frames, he's had but 1 strike in this game. Looking for a double. He's way inside. And the 4-pin. Therm was dancing around on that approach. He was all the way over in front of 28 when that ball went in there. So the only thing he can do now is match the spare thrown at him by Bluth. However, he'll pick up an additional couple of pins, 9. It'll still be a 2-pin difference if he gets his 4-pin here in the 6th frame, because they each had a strike working in the 5th. Neither one was able to double. There's his spare. So Bluth has 86 through the fifth with a spare up, and Gibson has 95 through the fifth with a spare up. There has been one open, the split here in the third frame by Bluth. Therm Gibson in the seventh. He knew that one. He just turned and walked away from it. So Ray Bluth has 86 through the fifth with a spare up, and Gibson has 115 through the sixth with a strike going for him. Ray struck on this lane in the fifth frame, the only strike he's had so far in the game. There's one. That gives Ray 106 through the sixth with make up 115 through the sixth with a strike up for Gibson. The difference is 9 pins. With only 2 pins mark the difference. Each man looking for a double in this frame. Ray is on the nose, almost had a strike, almost had a split. Leaves a 4-pin. And we're in the 8th frame. Ray Bluth started bowling in 1944. Looking down the list of titles. Long about the late 50s before in the mid-50s when he made a name for himself. He was named to the All-American team by the Bowler's Journal in 59, 60, 61, and 62. He has a spare in the 8th frame. Therm Gibson trying to get the double, trying to increase his lead. Ball off to the right. Really turns it over, and a thin hit doesn't carry. Leaves the bucket 2-4-5-8. First time we've had that particular leave. And as much as he's working on a strike, the count there won't hurt him. What he has to do is cover these right here. Brunswick pin finder tells us the 2-4-5-8 remain. There are a few ways to miss this one. And that's not one of them. He gets a spare, they each spare in the 8th. The difference stays at 2 pins. Therm Gibson in the 9th now, trying to get one to work on it. Striking the 9th is so very important. Ray Bluth had 231 in the first game. Therm Gibson 224. Four pin stays. It's his second 4-pin of this particular game. He did the same thing in the second frame, looking for a double. Nice to bring this back for the spare in the 9th. And he gets it. Ray Bluth has a potential 206 game. Ray Bluth looking for the strike in the 9th, the thin hit, and the 10-pin. Got everything on the left side of the lane with a good working ball, but the 10-pin remains.
And the margin remains 1 pin.
Right. It's still 2, isn't it? 9, it was 7 at the start. Ray going for the 10 and just did hang on. Even then you see no smile. Now who's going to get the strikes in the roll-off, if anybody? Both well off the pace they set in the first game. Bluth has had only 2 strikes. He started the first game with 6 in a row. He's in the roll-off. Left the 4-pin over here back in the 8th frame. And just avoided the split as the 10-pin was late in dropping. He leaves the 4-7. It'd be interesting to talk to Ray at the conclusion of this game to learn his impression.
Jack, this should be, in a sense, a lesson, because there's a lot of people that bowl maybe 100, and yet they get 150, and then for a while they'll shoot real low games.
You're saying it can happen to anybody?
Yes, bowling seems to be a very inconsistent game, even with the pros.
So Ray has the spare, and he needs a 10 count for 183. Ray Bluth finishes with 182. 182 for Ray Bluth. And a total of 413 for the two games. 413 for Ray Bluth, and a chance for Gibson to increase his lead. Pops the first one right here. He'd gain a little on pin count. 4-7. Well, that's what Ray Bluth did in the roll-off. He has 172 through the ninth. The difference is still 2 pins. It has been a 2-pin difference since the third frame of this game. So you don't think we're headed for a little excitement in that final encounter here? Going for the spare. Therm gets it. He needs a 10 count for 193, which would give him 416 and a 3-pin lead. Therm has had 3 strikes in this game. Ray Bluth had only 2. Difficult to comprehend. There's his 10. And Therm Gibson ends with 192, giving him 416. Ray Bluth 413. A 3-pin difference at the end of the second game of our 3-game match. A message right here, and then we'll be chatting with Ray Bluth. A chance for a brief visit here with Ray Bluth. Therm Gibson leads 416 to 413, a very close match, and Ray only 2 strikes in that last game. Where'd it go?
No, I don't know. I'm trying to look for it. I hope I got enough time left to find it.
Well, what do you think the problem is? You started with 6 in a row, and then suddenly couldn't find the pocket anymore.
I wasn't getting the ball out the way I was the first 6 balls, and cutting the follow-through short a little bit. So when you go through, if you get this position here, you're in trouble instead of going all the way through. So I wasn't getting the ball over the line, and as a result, I wasn't hitting the pocket.
Have you been doing it as of late? Have you been working on it, and have you been able to get it out?
No, that's my problem is staying behind the ball, getting the ball out over the line, and following through. If I can do that, I'm all right.
Well, we'll watch for it here in the third and final game. Ray, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
And good luck to you, Therm Gibson. 416 to 413 as we start our third and final game of the match here on Top Star Bowling. Well, let's watch and see if Ray does get that ball out over the line. Let's watch that follow through. He's starting the third game here on 29. Seemed to get that one out there pretty well, and rocks the 7-pin. You see very little emotion displayed by this fellow. I thought that hit was going to carry for him. Whitey earlier he had the same kind of a hit, and he left the 10-pin. That was in that second game. Do you think he might carry that last one?
He had a lot of mixing action on it, Jack. It's just one of those things where the pins just fly around.
Ray with a 413 total for the 2 games is after the 7-pin. Now Therm Gibson has started with 224, then 192. Ray Bluth has the game's high with 231, and I have to keep looking back at that 4-6-10 he left in the roll-off of the first game. 3-pin difference in the match. And it might go all the way down to the wire just like that. What do you think, Therm? 4-7. Bowling for a total of $1,500 here. The total of the prize money involved in the series is $40,000. $1,000 to the winner each week, $500 to the loser. The LaSalle wristwatch, which is for men and women of action, goes to each of the bowlers. Therm covers the 4-7. Therm Gibson from Detroit.
Jack, it's interesting to note that we've been following Therm in these past weeks, and he always seems to get that cluster of strikes.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, except for that first spasm of strikes in the first game, he hasn't been able to do that. So it could happen any moment now.
A couple of times his opponents, whom he has defeated, had more strikes than he did. He pushed that one into the pocket with a little body English up on the approach. I indicated that Harry Smith was in the audience. Marian Ladewig, the fine lady bowler. Bluth carries. If Therm Gibson can win this, it'll be his 4th consecutive win. Each man 20 in the first frame, 3-pin difference. They seem to be playing follow the leader right here. Let's watch again and see if Bluth gets that ball out over the line. His follow-through seemed to be pretty good. There's his double. Ray sits down after doing a pretty good chore. The double. Could well have 3 in a row right here. He rocked that 7-pin in the first frame, but it didn't drop. Ray trails by 3 pins, but unless Therm Gibson doubles here, and he has a strike working, Ray can regain the lead. That's right on the nose, and I'm pretty sure that Therm, disappointed as he is in not getting that double, is still rather happy about avoiding the splits, because any opens here are going to be very, very troublesome for either man. Pete Carter will be the opponent for the winner. Pete Carter from Detroit. There's the 6-pin. Over the weeks, Mr. Gibson has shown us a propensity for picking up those spares. Gibby trying to get on a strike because he knows Bluth has a couple working. Once again, he's on the nose, and there's the split that he's been flirting with the past few frames.
And the same line of viewing it, Jack, this way that he's throwing the ball for these particular lanes, there's the bad thing that happens. That ball just spun right into the head pin. Didn't have any chance to back off.
6, 7, 10 is a result. With that hook that he throws and that spin that he has on the ball, he might have a pretty good crack at this. But he didn't get it. Gets the 6-10, leaves the 7. He opens, and now we could watch the tide of battle turn right here because Bluth has a double going for him. Let's see what he makes of it. Ray is in the 4th frame here in the 3rd and final game. Did he get that one out? That's 3 of them. Ball popped in there nicely for 3 in a row, giving Ray 50 in the 2nd frame. He picks up 10 right there. He takes the lead now, and he can tack onto that lead with another hit. Boy, there's a beautiful hit. There's 4. Even then, you see, not even a trace of a smile of satisfaction.
Jack.
He's started to say why he told us at the outset that he gamed a bowl, and that's the only thing he has in his mind.
I think this is the farthest out I've ever saw Ray reach out for that one. Looked like he could have tore the back of his shirt.
Gibson, who opened in the 4th, is bowling in the 5th. He comes in a bit high, and there's the 2nd split in a row. It really hurts him. 6, 7, 10. Once again, that's what he had back in the 4th frame. And the gap widens right here. Well, that's unfortunate for Therm, who wants to win for the 4th time. And I'm sure that everybody who is viewing would like to see this one go down the line. Well, he gave that one a pretty good crack. He's going up there in a hurry. He seems he might be a bit perturbed right here. Ray Bluth, 20 in the 1st frame with 4 in a row. Therm Gibson, 74 through the 5th, where he opened. Two opens in a row. Therm trying to get back on. Here in the 6th frame. Comes on the nose again and leaves the 4-7.
It's one of those things, Jack. All of a sudden, he's lost his perfect control he's had with that ball, and now he can't look anywhere but try to help himself, and that's the difficult part of bowling.
Right, he might be blowing himself right out of the tub right here. A couple of splits in the fourth and then the fifth. He gets his spare, gets back on the marks in the sixth. Ray Bluth has 4 in a row going for him. Is he there? And no 7-pin. Had a couple of pins working for him over there on the left side. That stops his string at 4. And he's trying to match the spare that Therm Gibson has in the sixth. Therm Gibson has won 3 times, hence $3,000. 1,000 to the winner here, 500 to the loser. Say, if you were to ask, 10 different bowlers why bowling is so popular, I bet you'd get 10 different answers. One of the answers would bound to be the weather. You ever stop to think about it? In comparison to a lot of sports, you never rained out when you go bowling, or snowed out, or sunned out. Air-conditioned bowling center usually. Rain or shine, it's always bowling weather and time to have fun at the lanes. Ray Bluth just does get to the head pin, gets a good count on the spare on which he was working as he leaves the 2-5, giving him 147 through the sixth. The best Therm Gibson can have is 94 through the sixth. So he's going to be down by plenty when he comes up in the seventh, but where he can gain the advantage is to get a strike, where Ray Bluth did not get a strike here in the seventh. And by the way, this 2-5 can be rather precarious. Can it, Ray? Can it, Ray? I don't think I talked him into that, but that gives Ray 156 through the seventh. And now let's see if Therm Gibson can take advantage of it. He almost fell down and gets a Brooklyn. So, it gets even more interesting right here. Of course, Bluth is in good enough shape so that if he just continues to mark.
That's right, Jack. If Ray marks and gets just the average count, 8 or 9, it still forces Therm Gibson to go all the way for 214.
Right. Ray has a 50-pin lead, but he's really angry at himself for opening with that miss. There's a double. So a Brooklyn and a high hit gives Therm Gibson a double. Therm taking advantage of that miss in the seventh frame when Ray chopped the 2 off the 5. 29 pins. Ray Bluth has to get on one right here in the 8th frame. And leaves the 4-pin. Had everything rocking and rolling up there. But as Whitey told you, as long as Ray can continue to mark, he'll keep the wolf from the door unless Gibson, who will be coming up in the 9th frame when he next appears, can continue to string those strikes together. Things will get very, very tight indeed. Ray going for the 4, gets his spare. He got off 4 in a row, got on a spare.
I think it amounts to, Jack, that if Ray could put a strike here, then it gives him a protective thing as long as he doesn't open up at the 10th frame, and it's still forcing Therm to get 4 strikes in a row.
Got that one out. And splits with the 4-7-9. Boy, that hurts him. Of course, you have to hand it to Therm Gibson right at this point, because he had 2 splits back in the 4th and 5th. Both times a 6-7-10. And he bounced back with a spare and now a double, which he currently has working for him. Ray Bluth could, of course, pick this 4-7-9. Can be made, but it's one of the tough ones that can be made. And he just did miss it. And those 10 pins might hurt him. That gives Ray 81 through the 9th. And how close things are. The difference is in the vicinity of 29 pins. A hit right here can whittle into that. He's on the nose and didn't carry. You recall he had a Brooklyn and then a high hit. They both carried for him. He wanted this one. He knew he needed it to really put the pressure on Ray. That gets him off the string of strikes, and he needs the 7-pin for the spare. He's in the 9th frame, and he'll go on into the roll-off, still trailing. There's his spare. So Ray Bluth, right at this point, has about an 18-pin lead as we go into the roll-off. All Ray Bluth would have to do would be to mark in that roll-off, unless Therm gets the first two, and there's one. He might cause Ray to have to get a double if he can get a double here. Or at least get the, still get the spare. He'll still need that mark, it appears. Therm Gibson can go on to a 193 game right here. Gibson going for his double. He has come back. He's working hard at it. He gets the double. Not some of the snappiest strikes that we have seen, but he needs the, they're dropping for him nonetheless, and you have to give him a lot of credit with that ball that he's throwing. Another 10 count right here will give him 193. Ray Bluth would have to mark. Could win this by only one. Let's see. Therm Gibson finishes with 9 for 192. And here we go, folks, for $1,000. Ray Bluth is up there either to mark or not. 192 for Therm Gibson and a series of 608. This ball right here will tell the difference between $1,000 and $500. He's going to be on that head pin, and he's in pretty good shape for the spare. I tell you, if he'd have come over a little bit more, he might have been shooting at that 4.79 again, which almost wiped him out in the 9th because Therm Gibson came back. He has to pick this. Then a 10 count would give him 201. And a 9-pin win, and he'd thus win by 6 because he was 3 down at the outset. Is he going to get it? He does. There's his spare. And that does it.
How'd you like to shoot at that 4.7 for 1,000?
Oh, for 1,000, yeah. Good. Ray Bluth needs this for 201 and 614. That's what it is. No. A 4.7, 199, and 612, and a 4-pin victory for Ray Bluth. Well, does that worry you out a bit? Relax for just a moment while you listen to this message, then we'll come back to award the prizes and see if the bowlers have enough energy to visit with us. .612 to 608, and Therm Gibson was trying to win for the 4th consecutive time on Top Star Bowling. Couldn't quite make it this time, but nonetheless gave us a very exciting show to watch. Let's bring him out here now, Therm Gibson. Therm, we enjoyed watching you, and I know you didn't enjoy the outcome, but nonetheless, the LaSalle wristwatch for you, along with the check for $500.
Well, thanks a lot, Jack, and I sure enjoyed bowling here.
What are you going to be mumbling about when you lay that weary body down to sleep tonight?
I don't know. I think I'll just go to sleep.
You're thinking about that, what frame, the 9th and that 7-pin? That would have done it for you, as it turned out.
That's right.
Ray gave you the opportunity by opening.
But I pulled it right in the nose.
You had a little streak there where you were right on the nose.
Just couldn't find what I was doing wrong, that's all.
And that was no time to do it.
I think I was thrown away over the foul line again.
Therm, well, we've supplied your entire family with watches and you with plenty of money. Nice to have been with you.
Same here. I sure appreciate bowling on the show.
Therm Gibson, folks. And now the new man to hold forth in Top Star Bowling, Mr. Ray Bluth. You're a born dramatist, aren't you, huh?
Well, I'll tell you, I can smile now. It's over.
The LaSalle watch, Ray.
Thank
you. The check for $1,000. I thought that you had wiped yourself out there for a moment in the closing frames.
Well, I thought I had the swing again, and for 6 frames it was me bowling, and I don't know who the other guy is for the last 4.
Listen, you usually bowl with a fellow by the name of Carter, and his namesake, Pete Carter, will be your opponent next week, and that should be a dandy match.
Oh, and Pete and I have bowled many times, and he's a rough customer.
You might have to bowl more than 6-12, Ray.
I think I will.
Ray, nice to have been with you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Ray Bluth, our winner. And an invitation to you, a sincere invitation to join us next week on Top Star Bowling. It'll be Ray Bluth. It'll be Pete Carter from Detroit in a match that you won't want to miss. Hope you'll join in. Ray Bluth, 612, Therm Gibson, 608, and Jack Buck from the Hoffman Lanes says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long. Top Star Bowling has been presented by LaSalle, the Precision Jeweled Watch. Bowling equipment by Brunswick, the #1 name in bowling. Top Star Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress.